Hey, everybody, welcome back to Five Questions with. I'm your host, Dustin Peed, and I am super pumped to have with us today somebody that is a newer friend of mine, but somebody who just kind of blows my mind in the realm of creativity. This is my buddy, Owen Klein. Am I saying your last name right?
Yep.
Klein? That's what I thought. Sometimes it's kind of you don't know if you're saying it right or not. Owen Klein. Owen is a creative genius, specifically in the field of culinary arts. And if you are a friend of mine, if you're in my phone, if you know me, and I'm coming to town to see you, my first question is always, "Where should I eat? Where are we going to eat at?" And in fact, just last week, I had made a day trip to Alabama, and Owen asked me the same, "Where are you going to eat at?" And so, like, we're I guess you classify us as foodies. I think probably I'm more the foodie. Owen, I think it's probably an insult to call a professional chef a foodie. Um, but yeah, he's in the game. Owen is the former head of culinary innovation for Carl's Jr. and Hardees, and so I met Owen at a private event a few years ago, and he came there as that representative of Hardee's, and he made a fried duck biscuit with a bacon mousse. Was it a mousse or a jam?
Bacon pudding.
Bacon pudding, which is sounds even better than mousse because it's way more up our alley. And I'm telling you, it without a doubt, second is not even close. The greatest thing I've ever eaten in my life. It was incredible.
We were trying to make that one special bite, right?
Oh my, yeah,
And I think from the reception and the line that we had around the arena where the event was, uh, I think we did the job.
yeah. I mean, people were talking about that. We're still talking about it
Still
right now.
talking about it,
It's
right?
so good. So good, man. Well, let's dive right into these five questions here. I love that I get to have a chef on here because a lot of my creativity guests that I have on are into uh, visual or audio kind of arts. You know, they're musicians or they're designers, and I love that I get to have a chef on here, mostly because I'm a foodie. But I think it's going to bring a unique perspective to this creativity conversation. And so let's just kind of start to the beginning. Why in the world did you ever decide to become a chef? I know it's a hard job. It's a lot of times a thankless job. So
Yeah.
what got you into that?
You know, first of all, Dustin, thanks for having me. This is fun. When you reached out, I was like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, why did I become a chef? I guess first and foremost, I was raised Roman Catholic, so I'm a glutton for punishment. Um, like you said, it is a thankless job, but you know, internally, retrospectively, um, a good night's rush done and done well in any kind of restaurant setting, in any kind of private dinner setting, hell, serving an awesome dinner to my friends,
Mm,
like a three courser, gives you a real sense of pride, right? And I guess the first thing that really made me latch on to chef um, was the fact that um, if you give somebody a plate of good food, it's instant gratification, and they love you for life, right? It's just that, it's that instant gratification,
so
and
true.
you're giving people sustenance, right? So there's that sustaining life thing. But obviously, the past couple hundred years, culinary has evolved into an art. You already talked about it, right? Um, it's necessary to live the food, but if you got to do it, you should do it well, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess part of it's the instant gratification. Part of it's the fact that I like payoff for hard work. Same
Yeah.
same day kind of thing.
Instant.
Um, and yeah, food had always been there for me. My first job was working at a snack bar down the street at my community pool. Right, thought nothing of it. all the way through undergrad. I went to school and got a great degree in microbiology and biochemistry
Wow.
from undergrad, and I cooked my way through undergrad as well. Paying bills and paying off student loans and stuff like that. So um, I worked a job with those degrees for about a year, and I freaking hated it. So after a year was up, I quit and enrolled in culinary school because I finally realized at the ripe age of 24 or 23 that that food was my calling.
Mm. Man, what a gift to know that early. I want to emphasize something that you said that is like, uh, I do like tattoos. As you can see, I have some tattoos. I mean, if I was to start getting quotes on myself, this like tattooed on myself, this would probably be one up there. But you said if you're gonna do it well, and that is something that I learned early on in life. In college, I had a professor that said if it's worth doing, it's worth doing with excellence.
Sure.
And so I love that that's your mindset. I think that's what drives most creatives. But also, it's super interesting to me how your mode of creativity gives you that instant response. And so I'm going to jump around in my questions here a little bit because you brought that up. One of my next questions is, how do you know if what you have created as a chef is any good? I mean, obviously, does if it tastes good, but as creators, we're creating things that are for public consumption, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know as a professional chef? How do you know if what you created is any good or not?
Yeah. I'll let you in on a little secret first, Dustin. Um, I never think it's good enough,
Mm,
ever. But it's
love that answer.
it's one of those BS job interview questions where what's your biggest fault? Well, I'm a perfectionist. It's like
Yeah,
so yes, there is something to that, but I never think a dish is done. Once it's out in the ether, right? I always think of tweaks that could be made, especially as I do field tests and things like that, and actually consume the thing that's made after it makes it out into a number of restaurants. Um, so so I never really think it's done, but um, you know, with groups that own a number of chain restaurants like Hardees and Carl's, thousands of restaurants, or hundreds, or even a handful of restaurants. If you're making the same thing in multiple locations, um, you got to test it, right?
mm,
First you need to, and this is what I do, and it's worked well for my career so far. I surround myself with marketers that are smarter than me, and with culinarians whose palates are better than mine. And then I just look super smart because they all workshop it in in the facility before it ever gets out to the general public.
mhm.
And then if you have the means and the testing medium and things like that, you workshop it with your core consumers, right?
Yeah,
And get an idea if it's hitting all the marks that you designed the food for. Will they buy it? How often will they buy it? Is it is it like a life changing experience
is it
for
duck
them?
fried duck?
Right. Are they taken to another place? Does it hit on some kind? Does it tug on some kind of heartstrings?
Mm,
Nostalgia, which is how I've historically trained my teams to develop food with empathy and find that emotional tie to the food as well while elevating it. So something that people may have grown up with or ate on Sundays after church, right? How do you take that casserole style dish and elevate it to an experience that reminds you of it, but gives them the best version of that they've ever had?
wow.
So it really depends on the dish, but in my head, I never think it's done. But the consumer will tell you whether or not they like it.
Yeah. Man, that's I mean, there's so much stuff in there that you just said that it's just loaded with goodness. As you were talking, I was thinking about a couple things. One, about being able to test it and what mediums of creativity uh, get to have that testing. Like you said in my first question that I asked you, you kind of get some of that immediate feedback. If you write a song or poetry or a short story or something like that that you need to send out into the world, it's going to take a minute for people to really kind of digest it, for lack of a
Sure.
better term, right? But for food, you get that immediate like, ugh, I don't like this, or yes, give me more.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that like table pounder, like, ooh, that
yeah,
is good.
the table pound is the money shot, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about you're talking about you having a group of chefs to kind of bounce things off of. I did want to ask you a couple of questions in that realm. So first off, who was or is your biggest influence in the culinary game?
You know, I would say let's start with chronological, I guess.
Sure.
Um, Marco Pierre White. He is a British chef, gangster chef. One of I think one of the first Brits, if not the first Brit, to get three Michelin stars,
Wow.
and just didn't give an F about anybody or what critics thought about his food. He cooked for him,
Mm.
and he cooked for his guests, right? And came out with some of like the most exciting stuff in the 80s that ever seen, right? Stuff that still on menus today. You know, he was one of the first guys to do like the sauce dab and the swoop across the plate.
Yeah.
He painted plates like
Wow.
before anybody else did it. Before that it was just seat belts of parsley across on a diagonal across a plate. So that dude was kind of a visionary. And then I guess chefs that I worked with coming up as a fine dining chef before I went over to the dark side of fast food. Um, I worked with um, uh, a chef named Linwood at my first fine dining job in right outside of Baltimore. And in Chicago, I worked with a chef named Sean McLean that really turned someone that was like okay into a competent cook. Yeah, not through traditional like Gordon Ramsay like yelling, throwing stuff, but through training, repetition, and telling you it isn't good enough until it is, kind of thing. So those are three pretty big influences on me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What I have two more questions for you. Speaking on influence and inspiration, what is it about being a chef that feeds? I promise I didn't mean that as a pun. What is it about being a chef that feeds your creativity, that feeds your creative soul?
Um, well, I guess it goes back to the instant gratification thing, right? Now, you know, I think you personally, like, as one that cooks for themselves, like you know when you made something that you like right away, right? But I think you feel it when it's something new, it's something that hasn't been done before.
Wow.
That's what drives me, right? And let's be clear, like everything has been done before in the food realm. Um, Rarely has it been done at scale outside of one independent restaurant, one like 3-star Michelin restaurant, but you know there's a way to make it super ownable still without having to claim to be the first, right?
Yeah.
When you can execute something at 3,000 restaurants, or a handful of restaurants, it's it's a bigger deal than just feeding that group of guests that one night, right? Because you're getting it into more mouths and creating that same experience, if executed well, with many more people.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, I think that I guess instant gratification, but at scale, really drives me.
Yeah, I love that. I love being able to the passion of being able to do something that no one else has ever done before, the passion to bring and breathe newness into the world, right?
It's fun. Yeah,
And to bring a sense of satisfaction, in a world that is often unfulfilling. I can imagine is pretty big for you.
yeah. You're looking for those treats, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My last question for you is it's kind of like the influence question, but it's more not less of a person of an answer as just in general. But I always love to know when I'm sitting down with somebody, a creative professional like yourself. I always am intrigued to know, where do you find your inspiration? Most likely because I'm going to steal it and I'm going to go look at that thing and see if it inspires me, because I'm always on the look for new things to inspire me. So share with us, where do you go to find inspiration?
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna like my answer from a thievery perspective, but frankly, I get it from everywhere, right? So those same palettes on my teams that I trust, chefs, culinarians, um, they feed a lot of inspiration ideas. Social media is a great tool. I'll be clear and show my age. I don't have TikTok. I don't want it either. Like
Yeah,
I think this is one of the first times I realize I'm getting old. Like I just don't care.
yeah,
But Instagram is a great tool. I don't have Twitter. It's a great vessel for seeing what's out there, and trying to somewhat unravel what drives younger generations, even though they all use TikTok. Uh, um, so social media, agency partners. I, I'm not precious on where an idea comes from. If it's good, if it's good food, that's all that freaking matters. If you can sell a lot of it, I don't care who it comes from. Lots of times we'll get great ideas from food ingredient suppliers, from agencies, from social media, and then you have to make it your own, right? You got to be a food translator of sorts, and kind of mold it into something that's ownable and seems like it fits on the menu. So there's always nuggets out there that I pull, and I have a like a running list of ideas that I just put into my phone always, and or my notebook, because it stays in there a little bit better when you write it down.
yes,
Um, but whenever I am not feeling creative at all, I just reference my chicken scratch, and yeah, lots of times I never realize where it's from, but I always want to put my touch on something, right?
yeah,
Or the team's touch, let's say. And so yeah, the world, I guess, is inspiration
yeah.
for risk of seeming super lame.
There's something in there that's super interesting to me that I've never heard any other creative professional really kind of allude to, and you didn't really kind of come out and say it, because I don't even know if consciously you really knew that you were telling me this. But everybody talks about, every creative you'll ever meet will tell you to write things down, right? Everybody knows that. That's as old as creativity has been around. Write it down so you don't forget. Here's what I think we all miss, and just hit me like a ton of bricks right now, that you're saying that you're telling us right now, is that a great place of inspiration is to go back and look at the things that you wrote down. Like, I think we look at that as a source of development, and not a source of inspiration, right? I wrote it down because it's in development mode, right?
Right, right,
But to,
yeah,
but to but to go back and look at that chicken scratch, whether it's on your phone or a field notes book or whatever, like, to go back and look at that as a source of inspiration, like, that is huge. That is kind of rocking my world right now that you just said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I mean, that almost the same thing that works as well as notes for me is looking at my food pictures, right?
yeah,
I eat a lot every day, right? Like sometimes like bites of 15 cheeseburgers a day,
Mhm.
up until very recently. And if I don't take a picture of it, I don't remember it, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't reference it at some point. It's just
Mhm.
too much, almost good food in my head. You know, you forget
Yeah.
those nuggets of inspiration, like what makes that thing special that you want to
Yeah.
combine with something else to actually make it a good product.
Yeah. So as a foodie, you're telling me that when people are making fun of me taking pictures of my plates, I can just tell them it's for research.
Yeah, yeah,
Got
absolutely. That's what I say. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Owen, I mean, that is so good. I want to point out one more thing that you said, and then we'll wrap this up. That you're not precious on where an idea comes from. I think
Nope.
that is the most healthy thing that any creative can rest and live in. And it just feeds my soul when I hear other people say it like you. So man, thank you so much
For
for
sure.
this time. I know your time is super valuable, and I just can't thank you enough for being willing to do this and to kind of share your perspective of creativity through the culinary lens. Where is there anywhere? So you are on Instagram. Is there
Yeah.
anywhere on Instagram that people can kind of follow what I know you have some new things cooking, right? And I don't want to spill the beans. Man, I'm full of food puns today. Got some new things
It's good.
cooking.
It's good. It's good.
I don't want to spill the beans on it. I know you're going to at some point. Where can we stay in tune for that?
So I'm on Instagram at o.sizzle.
Oh, dot
Um,
sizzle. Yeah, I remember that
yeah.
now. I love that.
And yeah, should have something to announce within the next week or two.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, it's really exciting. Definitely different territory, new horizons. So
I
yeah,
love
I'm
it. That's
excited.
exciting. Yeah, that is exciting, man. I'm excited for you. I mean, for the watchers and listeners of this, I just want you to know that as amazing as Owen's food is, he just as a person, he's so much more incredibly generous and hospitable. And I love, love, love this dude. And I'm so glad that y'all are able to see a little bit of him today. I hope that I get to hang out with him again soon, as I'm often up in Nashville area where he's at. So, Owen, thank you again so much for your time, man.
Love you, brother. See you soon.
Yes, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I would encourage you to like, subscribe, ring the bell, all those types of things that would really help us out, help us be able to continue pumping out more content like this for you. Until then, we'll see you next time on Five Questions.